Welcome to Cordkillers Reckoning. The world of entertainment is turned upside down. We're just trying to find out how to watch what we want, where we want, whenever we want. I'm Tom Merritt. Where's the good stuff, Brian?
Oh, my goodness. If only there was a program that was dedicated to finding exactly that thing.
If only. Why isn't there such a thing, Brian?
And why? Not only why isn't there such a thing, but why wasn't it invented 18 years ago now?
Seriously. The only thing that we can do is go on a supply run.
Future events such as these will affect you in the future.
Indeed, they will. YouTube is redesigning its television app. So not the way you watch YouTube on a laptop or a mobile device, but if you're in the lean back experience, could be through a smart TV OS or an Apple TV or Roku or Shield or something like that. It will allow you to go shopping easier for your creator's favorite products. So highlighting things that the creator wants to sell you, something that I think would benefit Modern Rogue, obviously. Easier access to video descriptions and comments. So right now they just kind of overlay on the side if you're doing like a live stream, right? Instead, the video is going to shrink back a little bit. You know, like when they do the scroll on TV News or Sports Center, and then the comments and descriptions will be bigger so that you can see them better. So, you'll also be able to check live scores of sports without stopping your video, something that I know a lot of sports fans want. And Gadget's Lawrence Bonk said these are all very nice, but it doesn't do what he wanted it to do. He wants improved search, an easier way to refresh his personal feed, and the ability to look for what he wants to watch next while the current video is playing, which you can't do. You got to stop your current video if you want to search for something next. Brian, Lawrence is definitely coming at it from a representative of the viewer standpoint as a creator and a viewer yourself. How do these changes strike you?
Well, in what order would you like to deconstruct these? Because I have different feelings about different.
Yeah. Let's go viewer Brian first, and then go to creator Brian.
Viewer Brian. Tom, have you ever been excited to see what somebody else has commented on a YouTube video? Like full stop.
Tricky question. I don't know that there have been times actually when I see a comment, live chat. Okay. Not so much comments. So where live chat is important to me. And I'm like, what are people saying about this? And I might want to jump in there and do that. Comments, not as much.
Yeah. I think that what they're trying to do is recontextualize comments as the equivalent of live stage applause. Because as somebody who toured for 25 plus years, like it's very, very valuable to read the room, and if the room has no ability to make noise, then you can't read the room.
Yeah, and as a creator myself, well, I love that. I love seeing Lawn Mix say it's the Battle of the Plaid, because then that makes me go, oh yeah, Brian. People notice that Brian and I are both wearing plaid today. It's not terribly useful for this particular conversation, but it's fun, right? Like it's good to see what people are saying.
It's like really what he's saying is, I am paying attention to the show.
Right? Exactly. And I no lie, Lawn Mix. I will think of that. Next time I dress on a Monday, I'll be like, oh yeah, people are paying attention to what we wear. I'm going to pick something that, looks good, right? Makes sense.
Well, and also like it reinforces that the visuals matter, the pacing matters, the storytelling matters, bothering to show up clean, shaved and on time matters, all of that. Okay. So from the consumer experience, I think that people like to make comments because they like to feel like they're helping. Even all the nasty comments, I believe they truly believe they're helping. They're like, I'm telling you what I want. Isn't that helpful? And to a lesser degree, a chat-like experience is, this is what I'm feeling at this exact moment. Is that helpful? I got to tell you, like, all of these feel like positive things. Yeah, actually, I can't think of a single negative here, Tom. Because
Yeah. Okay. So I'm with you. And I think even Lawrence Bunkett and Gadget is with you that like, these are fine. Like part of me is wondering if I'll actually enjoy the pushback of the video as much. Cause I do like the fact that YouTube video is full screen. Maybe I would want the option of like, I want the comments to overlay and not push it back. That's the only one that I'm even slightly skeptical about. Everything else is fine. But I'm also with Lawrence Bach when I'm like, yeah, but being able to search for the Sora video while you're watching the video, being able to find videos easier on YouTube, those are all things I also want.
that's the part where I think you and I may disagree.
Okay.
Like, I would like to believe that the content is so good that it deserves your full attention, or at least 80% of your attention, while you also check your voice messages or whatever.
But it isn't always. And sometimes it's not meant to be. Sometimes it's like, here are ASMR highlights from spring training. Just to take an example of something I watch, I don't need to pay close attention. I'm like, I'm just catching the vibe of what that was like. But I do want to find a report on what happened with the Cardinals, right? Or something like that.
Did you just say ASMR highlights from?
That's what they're titled. That's the way everyone titles it on YouTube. They put ASMR in the title because they know that that's the way they can get it to show up in the broken YouTube search.
So that's one of those tactics versus strategy conversations where it's
Sure.
like, yes, tactically that's the right thing to do. Strategically, is that really what you're about? No.
But forget the label. I do like getting those videos of like, here's just people taking batting practice. You don't need to pay attention to every second of this because it's not that kind of content. And you might just want to have it up.
Very soothing and pleasing to
Yeah.
hear.
Or
the
lo-fi
crack
beats.
of
A lot of
bat
times people have
hitting
lo-fi
home
beats up
runs.
and they might want to search around to see what else is available.
Man, I'm really conflicted. Cordkillers@gmail.com is where everybody should write in on this one. I mean, unless you have a specific take, Tom, I'm mainly just fascinated to see anytime a major platform makes a shift like this. I like to sit and think why and what are they getting out of it.
I think the larger point of this story that I thought was interesting to throw in here was that this is YouTube's winning at television. We've been talking about this for 10, 15 years that like YouTube is taking over more and more parts of television, reality TV, this and that. But man, it really is becoming the default for people more and more. And if you're like, well, not for me, maybe it never will for you. Or maybe in a year from now, you'll be like, oh man, it's me now too. But I know more and more people in more and more demographics who turn on the TV and go to YouTube first, and just punch around. And then they might watch their HBO Max, their Max show or their Hulu show or whatever. But YouTube is becoming like the lean back experience that Fast wants to be and is also becoming. But I think the meta here on this is TV is so important for YouTube that they are paying more attention to that app, which they haven't touched in 20 years.
Let's play this game and
Okay.
and you could cut it off whenever you want, but I begin to wonder if the think piece, I mean, to be honest, Tom, there are increasingly times that I'm like, well, I could go see the thing or I could see what people are talking about the thing before. And
Sure.
in the smallest version, it's Rotten Tomatoes, right? In a bigger version, it's going to be a 5-minute think piece on whatever the movie is and whether or not, or things I should notice when I go see it. And then I go to the movie. I think YouTube may have full on established a dominant position, so dominant that it's the first destination for everyone. Like, let's say you hear at the office that there's some new Netflix show. Everyone's talking about it. For example, I ain't seen it, but there's some weird movie where they put a baby brain in a woman body on Netflix or whatever. I will probably watch like 7 think pieces about it before I watch whatever that movie is.
Yeah, just to see first of all to see what it's about without having to watch it. And second of all, to see if it's worth watching based on what those folks say, right? Am I missing anything?
Nope. By the way, the bulk of everything I've seen, read, and heard is, I wish I hadn't watched that movie.
Did you hear about Chicken Nugget?
No, not lately.
The premise of the show is that a woman at a workplace accidentally gets turned into a chicken nugget. And her father and her prospective boyfriend have to protect her from being eaten until they can figure out how to turn her back into a person.
Does she want to be a person? Does she want
Tune in and find out, right? Like,
okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the journey.
Yeah, that is. She rejects. I don't know how you reject that call, but yeah.
Back to YouTube. I mean, are they so dominant that they'll never go away? Are they like Google dominant, which is, of course, what Google wanted?
Yeah, right. Because they're owned by Google.
Yeah.
It sure looks like that. Nothing is forever, right? But are they long term? Feels like it. I would have doubted that 5 years ago. I would have said, yeah, YouTube had its moment, but that creator economy is hard to keep going, and eventually people will move on. However they did it, I think YouTube was able to straddle enough different verticals and loosen its restrictions up enough that it's so many different things that it's really hard to imagine it going away. It's a little bit because everybody's got a different YouTube that it's going to stick around, because it's not like they make one change and it ruins it for everybody. They make one change and it ruins it for maybe 10% at most, and then they can undo that change and no harm, no foul.
Do we have enough time in this episode for a brief, like 3 to 4 minute Brian strategy marketing talk YouTube thing?
Always.
Okay. All right. You say always, but not always.
Always, unless I go, Brian, no, we're running out of time.
That's fine.
But in the supply run, always.
you get to push me forward on this. So
Sure.
One of the things I've noticed is that YouTube seems to be getting serious about shorts. They seem to really understand that TikTok is a genuine threat to them. And at first they phoned it in on shorts. Now they're doing it for real. And we have noticed internally on multiple channels that showing up 3 to 4 times per day with high quality content that in general gets 80% of it watched, there's a weird thing YouTube does, and this is the parallel I like to draw. And I'm sure I've said this before, so forgive me if I'm saying it again, but Tyler Durden says to get into Project Mayhem, you go 3 days with no food, water, or encouragement. That's what YouTube does, and then it'll give you a spike, and then it'll take it away, and then it wants to just see what you do. Whereas TikTok is like, oh, you just want dopamine? You're an overnight success. Wasn't that fun? 800 views on your next video, right?
Oh, yeah.
So YouTube is both slow to grant success, but also slow to take it away. But what it wants to know is, the way I think of it is, are you seeking dopamine or are you a franchise? And I think that YouTube is serious about fostering franchises and giving them runway to keep on going.
Yeah, that actually brings up something that I've talked about on Daily Tech News Show some, which is on an even larger scale. I think we are seeing a platform that I'm going to call, video enjoyment or visual enjoyment, actually, because it involves still images too. And the competitors in this arena are Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and to a certain extent, Snapchat. And because TikTok has added still images and it's adding horizontal video because it wants to become what you're describing. It wants to become that place where you can have the longer term success, where you can have a TV version of the TikTok app that you watch. YouTube, what it did is it became TikTok before TikTok became YouTube by adding shorts, which don't work so well on the lean back TV experience, but they work great on mobile. And Instagram added reels, and Instagram has added live. And I'm just like looking at my watch, waiting for Instagram to be like, also horizontal video that's on the television. Like these are all playing in the same arena. And that feels like the current battleground for viewer attention.
Quick side jag. I really enjoyed your Know a Little More episode about Bite Dance.
About ByteDance?
Yeah, and TikTok.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I thought it was, for those unfamiliar, Know a Little More is Tom Merritt, deconstructing the tech world. It's great. It's a great show, but specifically this episode I thought was extraordinarily even-handed about what you should and should not be afraid of in this environment.
To me, it was like, you be afraid of whatever you want to be afraid of. I want to tell you what the actual risk might be, and based on what we know, and there's a lot of things we don't know.
Well, and I especially loved that you sort of set up like, 4 fictitious figures or things to be worried about, and one by one, you sort of explained each one.
Yeah. Find out which ones to be worried about at knowalittlemore.com. But thank you. Yeah. And I think there's a lot to what we're talking about that makes that TikTok battle interesting, because it is competing with Facebook. Sure. That's what a lot of people talk about. It's definitely competing with Instagram because of Reels and all of that, but it's also competing with YouTube and Shorts and Snapchat. And I feel like those are all, lesser extent Facebook, but Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, TikTok, they are all in the same space. They are all battling against each other. And one of them's a Chinese company and the other 3 are American.
But even then, like again, you know what? I'm just going to make this a plug for Know a Little More. Like, you carefully explain exactly what percentage is owned by what entity and where they're located and which is government controlled and how many other things. And you also carefully explain that if what you wanted to do was influence American minds, there are much more effective ways to do it than happening to own the most popular algorithm on the planet.
Here's the tease. Why you should be way more afraid of Tencent than TikTok if you're really going to be afraid for those reasons.
I was fist pumping the whole time when you talked about Tencent. I was just like, there was a hot few years where it's just like, so just propaganda. That's what movies are now. All right.
Indeed. Well, folks, the only reason that I was able to do that episode of Know a Little More is because I was alive. And one of the things that keeps me alive is food. And food costs money. And to get money, I do shows. And the only way the shows make money is you supporting us at patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this, but the P in Patreon stands for produce. That's what we do, is we buy food with the money you give us to keep us loud, live, and independent by going to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Yeah, a lot of creators out there will waste your money on carbohydrates. We eat the amount we need, to keep ourselves going, but produce is an important part of the diet. So help us eat more produce and eat healthier by supporting us with as little as $1 at patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Just $1 a month. We call it product for produce. We provide product. You give us produce. We all live. It's some people call it free exchange of money for services, but not us. Product for produce. That's our motto here at Cordkillers.
Oh, listen, Brian, we have energy to run away from those hounds and do the search party, thanks to the patrons. The new season of Doctor Who is coming, and they've given us the date and time of its premiere. It will premiere on May 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern US on Disney Plus, which happens to be midnight in the United Kingdom, where it will arrive on BBC iPlayer at the exact same time. So, Doctor Who premiering at the same time worldwide. They've done that before, but usually it premieres in a prime time spot in the UK, and then everybody else has to, listen, watch it at that time, which might be early in the morning in the United States. Instead, it's midnight UK time, and a nice prime time slot on the eastern seaboard of the United States. They will air it again on May 11th in the UK on BBC One if you just want to watch it on TV instead of going to the iPlayer. But it reverses the usual situation where it generally has in the past aired first on BBC and then later in the US.
How have you previously enjoyed the premieres of Doctor Who? Because I know that you're more deeply invested in the universe than I have been. Take me back through how that's going.
Yeah. I'm going to skip the original run of Doctor Who. We're just going to talk about the Russell T Davies era forward when they brought it back
From
on
Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah, with Christopher Eccleston. So back in the beginning, I would catch it on Sci-Fi. The Sci-Fi Network aired it in the US, and I think it was like maybe even a week later than the UK, but I didn't care because even though the internet existed, it just wasn't as immediate. There wasn't the ability at that point to trade videos so easily over the internet. So it was like, I just won't read spoilers. There's no such thing as Twitter, so I can't accidentally be spoiled. If I stay away from the message boards, I'm fine. Years later, as the internet got more immediate and video transfer became apparent, I might occasionally take a quick trip to the United Kingdom
via tunnel.
Yes, I tunnel my way to the United Kingdom and watch it on the BBC. And then recently, in recent years, they have taken to air, making it available immediately. And so for me, it's like, I'm just going to watch it earlier than in the day than I would in the past. No big deal. So those are kind of the three phases of it.
And now we live in phase 4 of
phase 4 is I guess I'll be watching it at 4 o'clock instead of 10 a.m.
Fine.
This sucks for the UK. Let me just say that to any UK listeners. We get it. Like this, you're mad, and you're right to be mad. Like, and I know most of the time it's like this, and the Doctor Who premiere was the one thing you still had the advantage of, and now Disney has taken it away, and I totally get it.
Yep.
Netflix announced that another thing that the United States has taken from the UK, Black Mirror, will get 6 new episodes in 2025. And Brian, one of them is going to be a sequel, their first sequel episode, a new episode continuing the story that was started in the episode USS Callister.
Are you serious?
We don't know anything else about it. We don't know if it's going to carry cast members over, but they said one of the new episodes.
It's got to be because it takes place in his mind, so that means we'll get Meth Damon in there. Oh my God, that will be amazing. That will be amazing.
Yeah, and granted, it's 2025, so we got a little while to wait, but I think Black Mirror has been relatively consistent relative to my expectations of how hard it is to do continuous good episodes of this. That's me not saying every episode of Black Mirror has been as amazing as the first season, but they've been pretty good. There's always at least one or two where I'm like, okay, that was incredible. Callister being one of them.
Well, and you have every so often one of these. Okay, so when you're training a dog, what you want to do is you want to have consistent reinforcement and set the rules, right? But when you're training a human, what you want is what Las Vegas does, random reinforcement. And you click on a Black Mirror episode, you do not get to know what you are buckled up to experience.
Right.
Sometimes it's pure joy that makes you cry. Sometimes it's witty, insightful satire. Sometimes you get to see a prime minister do some stuff that you'd rather you hadn't seen.
Yeah. And have a weird craving for pork sausage. I just made Brian rich.
My point being that Black Mirror has cultivated a reputation for one simple phrase: trust us. It'll be a good story.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll be happy. Maybe you'll be
and
sad,
90% of the time,
disgusted.
I think, for me anyway,
maybe you'll be
been
laughing while Miley Cyrus is in a wacky comedy or whatever,
right.
You know, yeah.
Variety says The Bear is going to roll right into shooting season 4 when it finishes shooting season 3, which it is currently shooting. We're supposed to get season 3 this June, and this implies that FX has given it a 4th season to come out after season 3 comes out. Which is usually how season numbers work.
Yes. As I don't know, Tom, I know The Bear's good. I watched as much of the season, and for reasons that we've talked about in After Talk, I fell off. But
yeah.
I know it's good. I know it's good. I know it's great. The end.
I'm not. How much do you care about the Scream movie series?
The Scream movie series?
Scream, with Nev Campbell, Scream 1, Scream 2, Scream 3. Hello, Sydney.
Yeah. That always felt like, of its time, a good meta commentary on what it meant to do a horror movie. But
did you watch it though? Like, were you a fan?
Oh, yeah, I watched the first 3 or 4, and then fell off.
All right.
But
so
sure.
So as they went along, they always had Nev Campbell reprise her role as Sydney until the most recent one, in which case Nev Campbell said, "You're not going to pay me enough to do this, so I'm not going to do it. But if you can pay me enough, I'll come back." And a lot of people said, she's just tired of doing it. That's why she's saying that. Well, she's coming back. The next Scream movie, which Kevin Williamson will direct, will star Nev Campbell. They figured it out.
I think that is a savvy move by an actor who understood that her value was quite high.
Yeah. And apparently a lot of the cast of the previous Scream will not be coming back. So I don't know if they're just saving their salaries to give to Nev Campbell or what. Also, I threw this in here because I didn't know if you knew about it. I know you're a huge Fantastic Four fan, but apparently they did a radio show version in 1975 starring Bill Murray before Bill Murray had premiered as part of Saturday Night Live. So he was part of the Not Ready for Primetime Players at that point. But he was in the Fantastic Four cast as Johnny Storm.
So this is a case where we just have this artifact. Oh my goodness. Part of me just wants to stop the show and just listen to all of this now, but I'll have to wait till later. Did you listen to any of it? Is it good?
I haven't listened to it. No, I was just curious if you even knew about it.
I did not know about it. The clip we have is 21 minutes long. I'm going to try to not violate copyright and just play a little bit of it.
Good, that's the way it should be. There's only one thing I like better than working on cars.
What's that? Hey, look. What's that in the sky?
That's my cue. Flame on.
Hey, Johnny, what's happening to you?
Remember me saying there's only one thing I like better than working on cars? Well, this is it.
The figure which just seconds before had been Johnny Storm is now the human.
Oh, I'm so
you can tell it's Bill Murray. That there was no work had to be done by my brain. Yeah, and many people may not realize that even though he was a Not Ready for Primetime player, he was not part of the original Saturday Night Live cast. And he did not join Saturday Night Live until 1977. So it took a couple of years. He was Johnny Storm in the meantime. Look at that. Finally, the FCC will require cable and satellite providers to include the all-in price in their services and promotional materials and on bills. This attempts to end the practice of hiding costs and fees and taxes. The idea being if cable company advertises $40 a month, the bill should end up being $40 a month, even with any fees or box rental surcharges, etc.
Can I Can I surprise you maybe on this one?
Yeah.
I don't like this.
Oh, what? Okay. So why? Because I may be more surprised than even I think I am.
Well, when you go to a gas station, they advertise the all-in price, and everybody complains about the price of gas, and they blame this person or that person. And personally, I wouldn't mind a bit of disclosure where the fact that a gallon of gas is 98 cents and there's a $1 so-and-so fee and another so-and-so fee and another so-and-so fee, all of which that are being taken by the state. Now, in this case, yes, all those fees are being mostly applied by the cable companies, but disclosure doesn't seem like the worst idea on the planet to me. And breaking things down so people understand things doesn't seem like the worst idea on the planet to me. Now, yes, none of us like seeing an ad that says $99 a month and then we find out it's $150 or whatever. But the government declaring it illegal to tell the truth about the fees.
But that's not what the government is saying, first of all. Before we get to that, I swear when I was a kid, I used to see gas station signs that had the tax on them. So I don't know if that's a thing in certain states or if it was a thing back then and it's not anymore. But I can remember, like, it's 79 cents a gallon, 5 cents tax, like telling you how much of that was tax.
Yeah. And for a brief while, you saw the same on cigarettes where it's like these cigarettes are 2 cents plus $1 billion of taxes or whatever.
Anyway, what the government is saying here is not that you can't disclose. In fact, they are required to disclose all of that. What the government is saying is you can't advertise it being $40 a month and then charge people $75 a month. You have to advertise it as $75 a month. And then you'll still disclose it, but your advertised price has to be what they're going to pay. So it's not saying you can't disclose. It's saying you have to disclose and you have to be accurate in the price.
Tom, I honestly don't know what is the more ethical stance here.
I think and again, remember, a lot of this is fees created by the cable company themselves, not taxes.
Correct, which is a little bit different from the example.
So there are some taxes, but a lot of this is the sports fee. So they advertise it as $40, and then you pay a $12 a month sports fee, and it's $52. But I think ethically, you need to tell people how much they're going to end up paying. Right. We're all used to in the United States, and we're kind of a weird country in this way. We're all used to, it says $9, but there's an 8% sales tax. So I just know it's going to be 8% more than the $9. Right. We just know that. We're used to that. But it's always 8%. This is not always 8%. It varies all over the place. And it's also a lot more than 8% in some cases. Sometimes it can be as much as 50%. So to me, I feel like it's fair to say, hey, y'all can charge your fees all day long, but if you tell someone they're going to pay a certain amount a month, you have to tell them accurately what they'll pay a month and not say it'll be $40 a month when it ends up being $70.
That seems
70 is probably an exaggeration.
Assuming that we'll limit this hypothetical to just all of the USA, assuming give or take everybody is paying that number, then that seems fair. Like sales tax is weird. Like here in Texas, we don't have any kind of income tax, and so what they do is they really hit you hard on sales taxes. So we're accustomed to 8.7% or whatever. That's, I don't know. This may be one that we have to turn over to the fine supporters of this show, cordkillers@gmail.com.
Send us your ears, as the Romans once said. It was lend us your ears. Never mind. You know what that means? It's time to look at some buried treasure. Brian, is there something you've been watching that you would like to tell the fine folks about?
Tom.
Yes, Brian.
You ever have a friend over and you want them to see something? And you're thinking to yourself, like, and like in your heart, you know, it takes a little bit to get ramped up before it gets like really, really good. But this friend trusts you, and you know, I don't know, it's 10 o'clock, and you're like, oh, well, let's get started. And so you watch the first 1, 2, and you could tell your friend thinks they know what this is about, but you know this is not what it's about. So you hang around till they get around episode 4, 5, 6, 7. Anyway, I went to bed just past 4 a.m. because I got my friend Ryer to watch the entire first season of The Good Place. And oh my God, is that a wonderful experience to trick someone into thinking they're watching one thing and discover it's philosophy 101. That show holds up so well.
That's amazing and gratifying to hear, because I haven't gone back and watched it since the first run.
It's great. It is great and timeless, and I think that entire college courses will be taught around it. And I'm not even joking or exaggerating about it, because think about it. You go to class, you watch another episode, your homework is to read the book they're talking about and the moral philosophical argument that they're having in that episode.
Do you think it's ripe for the full experience?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Let us not forget this. The Good Place full experience. Oh, that's amazing. I did the long distance version of what you're talking about when I took the recommendation of my friend Brian Brushwood, possibly up to a year later from his recommendation. But I finally found time in my watching schedule to start the Detroiters, or just Detroiters. And it is divine. It is everything you said about it, which is heartwarming, funny, and containing familiar echoes of I Think You Should Leave, while being very different from I Think You Should Leave.
How far in are you?
I am just about to finish the first season. So
Great.
Dad just dropped by in the last episode.
Separately, tangentially, I just love the long-running bit of they have an elderly woman running the front desk, and so the phone rings, and just in the background you hear her say, hello, no, he went insane, and then hangs up the phone. Oh, Detroiters is so good.
Yeah. And it definitely has the weird turns from I Think You Should Leave, but it's coherent, right? Like it's going to have a weird turn and then it's going to come right back into an understandable plot. Whereas I Think You Should Leave doesn't have to operate in those restrictions because it's all sketches, right? So they can just like veer off into absurd land and it's going to work. Detroiters is following the 20-minute, to half-hour sitcom path, but in a way that Tim Robinson is one of the only people that can do it. And it's just delightful and full of heart. Like the thing that they do that's really fun is like the two main characters are best friends. And they will just throw that in sometimes when it's like, the tension is building up. These two are going to have a fight. And they're like, but we're best friends. Like, yeah, buddy, we are. And it's delightful. Like it's so unexpected. And it's an interesting way of doing the left turn in comedy in a positive direction instead of in a negative direction. I don't know. I love so much about this.
To hear Justin tell it, they, number one, really are best friends. Sam Richardson and Tim, what's his name? And they really are from Detroit, and they really do love Detroit. And I believe that a number of the Super Bowl biggest ads featured the two of them. So now they're actually cosplaying in real life the story of Detroiters, which is amazing.
It's just, I can't recommend it enough. I'm having a really fun time watching it. They're only 20 minutes at a pop
so
too.
Happy
So
that landed. That's awesome.
Yeah. One of my favorite lines is there's a tech company that's moved into their building. And the whole plot of the entire episode is like dealing with these outsiders, and they're good for the city. And so there's some obvious places they're going to take it, and they do the same thing where they're like, go to the obvious place and take a left turn, and it's fun. But one of my favorite bits is they're out with a couple of the people from the tech company who are asking them about a bar, I think, or something. I can't remember exactly. And they say, is it safe? And they do the thing that locals do. And I know this from Los Angeles because they do it in Los Angeles. We did it in Oakland when I lived in Oakland. We're like, of course it's safe. This is not like a third world country here. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And then one of the tech employees like, oh, great. I think I'll walk there. What are you, crazy? You'll get murdered. No, don't walk there. I'm like, oh my God. It's every city ever. That's amazing.
I believe the line was like, yeah, it says it's only 12 minutes walk. I guess we'll just, and they're like, and then both of them instantly, and this is at like peak conflict. They can't bring themselves to let them walk. They're like,
no,
whoa, are you crazy? No, you'll get murdered.
Well, folks, if you got something we should be on the lookout for, please email us, cordkillers@gmail.com. You want to know one of the most exciting things I have coming up, Brian?
Oh, man, I hope it's like a once-in-a-lifetime celestial event that justifies you hopping on to a sky carriage and transporting your body halfway across a continent to be there for.
How did you know? Are you a magician?
No.
Yes, you are. In so many ways. And I am going to take advantage of that by coming out to your house, at least one of your houses, and watch an eclipse. Is anyone else going to be there?
Yeah. So far, eclipse update. So now's the time. I'm about to start sending out emails like yo, we need to for reals know stuff. What we've done is we have 7 acres on our property. We have we've rented out the VFW next to us, which gets us another 11 acres. We have permission if you're an RV kind of person. Come on in. I don't know if you did you hear about this, Tom? They've declared a state of emergency in the state of Texas just so that they can access the funds to handle all of the influx of traffic over here.
No, I didn't hear that. That's crazy. Wow.
And there are some eclipse maximalists who are trying to, get the full 4 minutes and 87 seconds or whatever. I personally am of the opinion that I would rather be surrounded by friends and have a show that ties into it. But if you are interested, head on over to scamstuff.com. Just type in the word eclipse. You'll find it. We're doing an all-day party, and we're in the middle of putting together a VIP event for the day before where you can hang out with all of us. I'm very, very excited. Just head on over to scamstuff.com. Search for eclipse. You'll find it.
Yeah. Or if you can remember foundersdayeclipse.com, that'll get you there too. And I will be there. So you should be there too. I mean, the person listening, Brian, obviously you should also
I was about to say, Tom, I think it was pretty clear. I think it was implied that I was planning to be there.
Brian, I don't know if you've thought about it, but you should probably be there too. Like, that would be amazing. Foundersdayeclipse.com. Go do it. Meanwhile, we shall scan the horizon. DirecTV says it will give customers the option not to receive local TV channels, Brian, and they'll give you a discount of $12 a month. Now, if you're confused, the law in the U.S. does say that cable systems like DirecTV must carry local TV channels. There's a must carry rule, but there is an exception to the must carry rule, which we have talked about on Cordkillers before, that if a local TV channel would like to get paid for the privilege of carriage, they can suspend must carry rules in order to charge for carriage. And these days, almost every local TV station does want to be paid a carriage fee and therefore has suspended the must carry rules, thus giving DirecTV the latitude to put local channels on their own optional tier.
Oh, that sounds like somebody was cashing in when the tide was good. But then the things changed, and now, whoopsie doodle, nobody wants your local channels.
I mean, I don't know how many people don't want $12 more than they want their local channel, right? Like a lot of people do want to have the local channel, maybe for local news, probably more likely for that evening show that they watch, or the big sports games. You know, NFL games are usually on local broadcast channels. But there's other ways to get that stuff. You know, you can go, if you're subscribing to Paramount Plus, you get the CBS local channel there. You're subscribing to Peacock, you get the local NBC channel. There may be some folks who are like, yeah, I'm going to find this stuff. I'm going to get this stuff anyway. I don't want to pay for it twice.
So cordkillers@gmail.com on this question. Outside of weather, and what else is there to your local channels? Because like we can all say we don't want our local channels.
I just said a few. You mean besides pro sports and local TV news and stuff?
I don't know. Like I don't know how much. I don't know. But also, I'm not a sports guy, so
yeah. You would cash that $12 in immediately. It sounds like.
I mean, I would keep, if I had cable, I would not see the difference between $120 and $132. And I would
let's say you're doing DirecTV now for like 70, and you can drop it down to below 60, 58.
Yeah. If you live in Texas and you've ever been afraid of a tornado coming, you'd be real glad you had been paying that $12 to instantly get live boots on the ground weather programming.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I have done fire coverage, earthquake coverage in LA streaming, and it's been fine. We even had a hurricane hit us, and I just used the weather app to keep up on that.
Yeah, you guys had like a weird backwards hurricane.
What was backwards about it?
Came from the wrong side.
Oh, right. Yeah, because it came from the other side. Yeah, no, right. Yeah, no, it wasn't a hurricane, right? It was a typhoon. Am I wrong about that?
I believe culturally, typhoon, hurricane, cyclone, those are all just like local terms for the same phenomenon. Yeah.
Right. And they're just used in different regions.
Yeah.
So it was a cyclone? I don't know. Anyway, we had one of those. So yeah, your mileage may vary, but I do think it's really interesting that DirecTV was like, all right, we just got done with a big carriage fight and agreed on terms to pay this local TV operator a big chunk of change. So now we're going to call their bluff and be like, okay, you want to get paid?
Forgive me if you've already told me recently, but like, where are you at on your consumption? Like, do you have cable still?
We do. We have DirecTV Now. Well, we don't have cable, but we have DirecTV Now, which is, cable, but over the internet. And we have it because it's the only way to watch the Dodgers locally without cable, because they're the only non-Spectrum company that offers Spectrum Sportsnet LA.
So in general, I'm a big fan of redundancies for emergency purposes. I guess I feel like we have a redundancy because we have cable, we consume everything over cable, then cable goes out, and all of the kids just,
Wait, you have cable? I thought you didn't.
Whatever. We have Spectrum internet or AT&T internet or whatever it is.
Okay.
Right.
But not TV, just the internet.
Right. And
Gotcha.
when it goes out, all of the kids know to just flip over to the cell-based system. And
yeah,
I guess there's some kind of comfort that I derive from them, like, 2, that's enough. We can all get a hold of each other.
I mean, do you have a weather radio somewhere? Because then you got 3. I'm going to guess you do somewhere in your house.
You know what I have is, and this is a dumb way to think about it, I have a car that I could go out, turn on,
it has a radio on it. There you go. Yep. The BBC will begin streaming its news channel, BBC News, on some connected TV and FAST platforms, free ad-supported streaming. So if you have Samsung TV Plus or Zumo, Sling TV has free channels, Plex has free channels, Vizio, Pluto TV, they are all partnering. BBC News will still be offered by pay TV providers like we were just talking about, including DirecTV, so Charter, Comcast, etc. If you're confused a little bit, AMC Networks is the BBC's partner for BBC America. That's a joint venture, but it's controlled by AMC. It handles the distribution and advertising sales, but BBC News is not part of that. So BBC can do whatever it wants with it.
I have no opinion about this, Tom. How about you?
I consider, when I answered the Dodgers thing earlier, one of the other things I like about DirecTV now is that it has the BBC News channel, and I very much enjoy watching that, for certain international events for news. So this took one more reason. If the Dodgers became available in some direct way where I could just pay for the Dodgers and Eileen could watch her Dodgers games, we might cancel DirecTV Now. But if I had canceled DirecTV Now, I would be like, but I can't watch BBC News. That's it. That sucks. Now I can. So one less reason.
That's sorry. Quick side jag. I listen to a fair bit of BBC, but I never watch it. Like when you're watching it, are you sitting down giving it your full attention, or?
I usually watch it event driven. So an election night, for example,
so you want an outside
there was something happening in Europe, and et cetera. Fubo is adding the MASN network, I think that's Maryland area sports network, which carries the Metro area sports. Anyway, it carries the Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles baseball games. So just in time for the baseball season starting, it's going to be carrying those. That's a big deal because Fubo has been in a will they, won't they with a lot of regional sports networks. So they're getting that one, at least. Good for them. So, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask if we were going to read tea leaves into this. Does this mean we've always known that Fubo is very sportsy? Does this mean that they're building up momentum? Or are they?
It's a win. It's a win in their fight to be able to get everything. Because we talked about previously that they look at that combined Warner, Fox, and Disney venture as a threatening. So this is a positive there. Fox's free ad-supported streaming service Tubi with a B. Tubi has added more than 200 movies to its service in Canada through a string of deals with the U.S. major studios. That includes NBC Universal, Sony Pictures Entertainment, Warner Brothers Discovery. They're going to get franchise blockbusters, classic movies, etc. So if you're Canadian and you're watching Tubi, well, good for you. You got more movies coming.
A quick question. I find that more and more often I go to justwatch.com and I type in a thing, and the easiest option is a ad-supported one. And I'm always conflicted about whether or not to do it rather than pay the, $2.50 whole to rent it from Amazon. How do you usually handle that? Are you cool with ads in your movies?
Sure. Sometimes. I will usually watch it with ads for free rather than paying it in most cases. Finally, Amazon is removing the Prime Video Watch Party feature from its online streaming platform starting April 2nd. So you've got less than a month to get together with your friends 4 years after it became available in 2020, which everybody's like, oh, they did it for COVID. They were testing it in 2019. So it was already planned before anybody knew about, unless they knew, Brian. No, they were testing it before anybody knew about COVID. It just happened to be a useful service when people were locked down. But apparently the feature's usage has, quote, declined over the years.
I had a couple of really precious experiences using this feature. Not related to COVID so much as during the winter apocalypse, because we have HQ over here and we have our house over there. And so I came here and got snowed in and got to cosplay The Shining. But I'll never forget, what was the World War I movie, the 1917 or something? 19, whatever
1917. I think that's right. Yeah. Either that or All Quiet on the Western Front, but I think 1917 is the one you're talking about.
1917. Watching that in real time with my wife in the middle of 7 days of complete isolation. Chef's kiss. It was amazing. I'm sad to see this go because I think it's a really, really good feature.
Yeah. It never had huge usage, but it had enough to make it a fun feature. And it seems like people have just stopped using it in any great numbers. I know there's some of you out there still want to use it, but like, when's the last time you used it, Brian?
There's a movie called 1917.
Okay, there we go. Folks, we love to hear from you. As you heard throughout the show, we mentioned a couple of times, hey, we want to hear from you, cordkillers@gmail.com. We don't always have time to get to all the emails in the show, but we do read every single one of them. And so we kind of want to, we want to focus on bringing really good ones to you next time. Right, Brian?
Yeah. So most of the emails right now are talking about our experiment of developing what we're calling the full experience. And I really think that we're onto something here. And we're reading all of those. We'll bundle all of those up next week. Please keep the suggestions coming. But meanwhile, I did get from Matt a curious email that basically said, Quantum Leap is American Doctor Who. Matt says, listening to you guys talk about Quantum Leap made me realize how much history I learned from the show. Teaching kids history through science fiction was the premise of Doctor Who, which makes me think that Quantum Leap is basically the American version of that. I think that's a very good observation. Keep them all coming. Cordkillers@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We are live on twitch.tv/Night Attack Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. I reckon we'll talk to you next time.